Hello, James. Thanks for having me, mate. It's been a while.
It's been, it's definitely been a minute for sure.
Yeah.
Last
time I actually saw you in the flesh, it was in a house party. You were behind the decks in like one room, and then I went downstairs into another room. It was the most kind of Hollywood house party I've ever been to, outside Hollywood, obviously. It was fantastic. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that now. I do. It was after the 264 party. There was an after party from this crew here in Dubai called Satwa 3000, and they had us both playing. That's right. I remember that.
Yeah. It was three. I was 3 sheets to the wind, mate. I know that. Chunky spent most of the party in the promoter's bed, I think, in the actual bed, sleeping off the boat party.
Yes, that's right. I remember that. Right, that was a crazy day. It was so much fun, and the boys did such a great party for that day. God, that was 2015, I think.
It was 2015, yeah. That was the first time I'd met Kutma as well.
Yes.
Kutma was over. We all stayed in Jumeirah Hills with oh God, where did we stay now? Danilo's house.
Yes, right. SRI, of course.
SRI's house, yeah. Yes. And oh my God, we made like food and we recorded it, playing drums. We had a drum circle. We were bashing spoons and plates and recording it all. It was fucking. Do you know what? That was one of the best trips away I've ever had. And thanking Chunky for being so mashed coming off of that boat, because we were supposed to go to the airport that night and he was literally too fucked to get on a plane. He was too fucked to stand up. We literally, me and Kutma had him. I had both his legs. Kutma had both his arms, and we were walking through metal detectors. I remember in that house party. Do you remember we had a security guy there, and he's just looking at me like he's alive, yeah. And he's alive. He's just had a couple too many. We're gonna get him into bed.
Well. It was a big day, and I guess so much has happened since then. I mean, you've still been very active in the studio. Tell me what's been happening for you this year. How have you been adapting and adjusting and navigating through this last 10 months?
So I suppose if you want to go back to February, when my last proper show was, that was in Milan, and I just literally missed COVID. They were the first big spike in Europe.
That's right. Yeah.
COVID. So I missed that by like 2 weeks. And I remember that was the first time that COVID was really on my radar, because we had people on arrival taking, like a heat sensor they put on your forehead to see if you've got some kind of symptoms or something. I don't know. So yeah, that was the last show that I had before it all locked down. I was very gutted, mate. I'm not gonna lie. I had it all set up. I had all my ducks in a row for the first time in 20 years. I've had this is like, I'm on album number 14 now. This basically was the first time that I had an album there that was tourable. I had an agent who was capable of delivering the tour. I've got management that could have turned that momentum into so much more. And the product was ready to go. And that happened. And I know I'm not the only one out there that this has happened to. I know there'll be people listening now going, yeah, bro, yeah, that happened to me as well. But it's sod's law. You got no control over anything. That's one thing I've learned. Just when you think you've got a grip on things, something can come along and just take your legs.
Yeah.
And you have to adapt. So, I suppose over the years I've had change issues, if I'm being honest. Like, even though like throughout a career you change what you do, but musically I've adopted many sort of roles and changed tack musically quite a lot. But this has helped me sort of just see change is necessary, and if you want to survive, you have to sometimes do it. You have to spin on a penny. You have to make it happen quickly and without any fear. Because when you put fear and creativity in the same room, it just goes wrong. That's another thing that I realised over COVID, should we call it, lockdown. The first bout of it, March to summer, midsummer, end of summer. Because my coping mechanism is, what I've found, has been to create. But then the anxiety and everything that there has been during this lockdown hasn't been conducive to the best results. So what I had to do was, the end of July, I realised that I'd just been locking myself away in the studio, eating, comfort eating, smoking, drinking, but back on the booze again. And then just hit me like a ton of bricks. This isn't really helping matters for me, because when things switch back on, I'm not going to have any product that's any good. I'm not going to have any tunes that I'm proud of playing anybody, let alone myself. And I'm probably going to be dead. Do you know what I mean? If I carried on the way I was 19 and a half stone by mid to late July. And I put on 3 stone during lockdown, which upset me. Upset me. Felt I let myself down. But also, luckily, because a few years ago I made the decision to lose weight, get fit, got a PT. I knew my way back to happiness. I knew my way back to where I needed to be. And that's had a knock-on effect. So the end of July, I decided, right, that's it. I'm getting another PT. And since then, I've been doing 4 to 5 days hard graft in the gym and feeling so much better.
Tell me, the first time round though, like, because there was something I wanted to talk to you about was, in recent years that you've taken a focus to your health and fitness. What was the motivation, inspiration for such a dramatic transformation initially? Like, what was, like that first time round and now? Obviously, you've explained this second time round, but
the first time round, I had a massive life change. I split up with my then partner of 14 years, left the family home, moved away from my 11-year-old son, moved into my studio, and basically just, not in a good way, not in a good shape, just kind of toughed it out. This was between September and Christmas. So I spent Christmas Day on my own in the studio, which was sobering. But luckily, excuse me, I was already on my fitness journey at that point. The point that really hit me was, again, it was a realization of, if I don't sort this out, I'm going to die. 45 years old. Then I was 45 years old. I just got a radio show to kind of, I don't know, put a bit of pep into my life. At the time, I thought that would be a good fun way of like livening things up a bit. Not realizing how low my self-esteem was at the time of doing it, and not having my head right at all. And I guess like it shows, it could, there's telltale signs of people depressed or just not happy. And sometimes just having it pointed out to you by somebody that you don't know too well can be enough. So that was one like little motivation, quite a big one. Another DJ and a radio producer who was kind enough to produce my radio show at Unity FM, ZJ. He was he is a black belt in kickboxing. Big lump of a guy, about 18 stone, just solid. And he wanted to make music. Well, he was making music, and I wanted to get fit. And I didn't have the confidence to join the gym. Didn't have the confidence to really bring it up with anybody. I was absolutely like at my wit's end. But because of the exposure I get in my job, there's quite a lot of, I don't know, playing it cool. Like, oh, there's no problem. Do you know what I mean? Just march on, just keep fucking being Zed Bias and doing this and that the way I've always done it. But obviously the formula wasn't there for success. I was 20 and a half stone at that point. And that's way too big for me. Like 5'9.5". So, you know, at that point I was doing a radio show. He the first little in about he wanted to come to the studio. I'm like, right, okay, I'll give you double the amount of hours in the studio that you give me doing pads, like boxing pads, boxing training. He was like, you're on. And from that day, this was 2018, the end of, like, it was about the same time, end of July 2018. I used to drive to Oldham, knock on his door, he'd get his pads, I'd have my little mitts, horrible little boxing mitts, cheap things, and big baggy clothes. I'd be fucked by the time we got to, excuse my French, I'd be out of breath by the time we got to the park. But the park where the tennis courts are, that's where we're training. And he was having me do all sorts. I remember I couldn't do one sit-up because literally the belly was in the way. Couldn't do one press-up. Within 2.5 months, I can remember when it was. It was December the 7th that I joined the gym, the same gym that I'm at now. And that's because I met my missus on the same day. The missus I'm with now. Mm-hmm. I'd been exercising for 2.5 months and he'd taken off. He'd got me down to 18.5 stone by kicking and punching. And it was very, very good experience. You know, anybody who's not done it before and is thinking of a way to expel their demons in a way that isn't hurting anybody, you know.
I can certainly relate to, you know, I struggled with my own fitness and you know, getting into that routine until almost like in my 40s as well. Yep. And it is breaking those patterns and those thoughts that you've accumulated over all these years that have kind of stopped you in the past, and breaking over those like hurdles. And that's what you're doing, right? You're breaking those patterns that have been with you for so long. And I love it now. Like, I love keeping fit, and it doesn't scare me the way it used to. You know, has that been the same for you?
Absolutely. ZJ put it a really good way early on into my training. I mean, it was more like a mentorship. I'll be honest with you. He's 15 years younger than me.
Wow. Yeah.
He's an old soul. Yep. You look at him and he's like an old slugger. You can imagine him like being a James Bond baddie. He used to put it to me, upward spirals and downward spirals, like vortexes that suck you one way or the other. And your life can be in one pattern or the other. And I was in a downward spiral, so everything I was doing was impacting on the being down. Being overweight was stopping me exercising, destroying my confidence, making me find solace in drinking other substances, and then that in turn would stop me exercising. It'd get worse and worse. you're just going down, 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 down. Once you break that pattern and flip it the other way, the first step's always the hardest, the first few weeks. Everyone knows that. But, I literally, the first step into the gym for me was the hardest thing I've ever done. And trust me, today's workout was a mad one. Like I've done a 2,000 calorie workout today. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm doing every day. Like I'm doing like hundreds of sit-ups, crunches, Russian twists, burpees. It's proper training. But the hardest thing I've ever done was that first step into the gym.
Yeah.
I felt like some kind of freak. It felt like everybody's looking at me. And they probably was because of the nervous energy. When you walk in somewhere and you look lost.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck am I doing here? Fuck. Looking for the nearest bit of machinery that can hold your weight. It was pretty mad. But it's from that step and gaining confidence slowly and losing weight and gaining confidence, everything becomes easier. And then it's been like a weekly thing where I have micro goals with my PT and myself. More importantly, myself now. He's not checking up on me. He's just helping me get there. If anything, I'm shifting things along a bit faster now. Is that because of the first time round as well? Because I guess like what happened now, like this year, getting back into this routine was a lot easier. Because it just took a little nudge, and then it got the wheels in motion again, right? Well, there's muscle memory involved. It's more the mindset. I just all I needed was one person to believe, other than me, obviously, and of some authority. So a PT could believe that I could sort myself out, and that person just be there to help me be accountable this time. It's accountability.
The hell helps big time.
It's the only way for me because I'm such a skiver. It's very hard to fall off track. It's very easy to fall off track, and it's hard when you've got someone next to you every single day, supporting you in a really positive way, not in an uplifting way. Because that upliftment, it all feeds into this upwards surge in your life. It's like actually footholds climbing up a wall. Like that's how I feel. Every little step, like it could be, I don't know. I mean, we're in Instagram days now, yeah. So the most steadfast way of me having accountability in front of everybody, in front of all my 11,000 followers, is recording my activities, show people that I've lost weight with before and after pictures and stuff like that. It's really, for me, how it makes me feel doing it, keeps me on track.
You mentioned now though that you're finding that there is an element of your own self-motivation as well. Like you find.
I'm coming into this, James. I'm coming into this now. It's unknown territory for me, mate.
Yeah.
Because I used to be quite sporty when I was a kid. Last 15, 16 years old, I was playing football, rugby, and since then, nothing. And so in my 40s, mid to late 40s, I'm finding out I'm pretty athletic, pretty strong, and bloody fit. And I promised myself quite recently, a month or two ago, that if I can do more, I will do more. And it's like
it's the only way forward, mate.
Well, it's like a mantra for myself. So then it becomes you against you, not you against the camera, not you against people. Because obviously, like, there's going to be people thinking, who's this fucking 45, 46, 47-year-old dude giving it the large one, right? I'm just, I'm not here for everybody else. Like, I've lived up till now the way I've wanted, and now I've just wanted to change. So it is totally about me, and that's what it should be. Do you know what I mean? The first time I did this, it was a little bit because I've been trolled as well on my Facebook page. and that had made me really unhappy. Like there were a bunch of lads.
People like, yeah, go on. You were saying bunch of lads?
Oh, yeah, just a bunch of lads posting stuff up on my page, commenting on absolutely everything. Just childish fucking.
Wow.
But
But no doubt you had a lot of other people encouraging you as well, right?
Oh God, yeah. I kind of, in a moment of weakness, I posted on my Facebook, like, I've had enough of this. Like fat shaming, basically, that I'm going through on my page, and it's pissing me off.
Wow.
And yeah, I've got something like 1,000 fucking comments from people who don't feel like that. And then, obviously dickheads that join in as well. But what annoyed me the most in retrospect, looking back at that, was the fact that I didn't have the inner strength to just let it run off of me. Like it didn't matter, because it truly doesn't matter to me now what anybody thinks.
So I guess that's kind of...
As long as I'm not hurting anybody. As long as I know I'm living the good existence, I'm not putting anybody else out.
Yeah.
Doing my best, trying my best, and putting the most in.
That's something I guess you've gained from these experiences. You develop a stronger, thicker skin, to deal with that stuff. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I'm warming up a bit here now.
Well, so on this year though, because it happens, especially with the turn of events when that came and hit us all this year, and it has made us all kind of reflect and look within, and it's no like shame or mystery to have slipped behind, at the start of this year, because who knows, like how were we all to deal with this, like with this massive change in life. But you were able to pull yourself aside and go, whoa, all right, I can either let this whole pandemic really screw with my life, or I can take charge and control and get back in the seat. And that's what sounds like what's happened in the last 3 months now. You've like really kind of like,
it's really about
grab the bull by the horns again,
Absolutely. It's helped that I've got some great people behind me. My Mrs. Elise, she's a very positive person in my life, having someone to share it all with. And, she's on a similar thing. I wouldn't say she's trying. I mean, she keeps fit. She goes to the gym, but she's a curve model. She's not, wanting to be skinny or athletic or anything like that. But she's sympathetic to what I'm doing at the moment, which means everything. Disappearing for 2 or 3 hours a day to concentrate on myself, and that's not even counting work. That's kind of a lot when you're in a relationship. So to have someone supporting you in that way is really good. My PTJ, he's another really, newer in my life. I've known him for a few years in the gym on and off, but he's, obviously since he's been my PT throughout the summer and up till now, 5 days a week, having that regular time, you get to know somebody, especially when you're going through some serious pain barriers and, potential, like, how can I say, fire spots. You know what I mean? Like, it could, if there was any sort of weakness in communication, or like you're pissing me off or whatever, it would come out in the gym. Actually, like, it clicked with me and him, and I believe that's why it's gone so well as it has.
Well, it's super important to have that network and the right people around you and the right environment around you. Clearly, like I think everyone has to really kind of tailor a support to have those pillars around you to keep you accountable, keep you in check. And this is perfect because I noticed, like you mentioned, creating a vibe in your studio is important, and to help create a suitable, working and inspirational environment. So would you say this is kind of like the same applies in all areas of your life, adjusting environments to be conducive for you, like, is that a similar thing?
Well, yeah, it is. Depending on what I've wanted in my life, I've sort of done that. There has been times where holding the vibe in the studio meant having a bottle of Jack Daniels flowing.
Right.
And
I was going to ask you, what does that mean? Like, what does that look like now for you, creating a vibe in your studio?
Well, creating a vibe in my studio. Okay, so my studio, unlike a lot of other people's, maybe, I use it as my own laboratory, and I invite people in to either create with me, or if they need a favour, I'll gladly help them.
Okay.
If I feel like, it's not pulling me off of what I should be doing. If I can help, I will. It's my energy. I mean, it's not costing me money. Pushing a few buttons and recording things for people, and showing people how to do things. So that's quite important. Having that open door policy, that's the start of it, more of a welcoming vibe. Then what usually comes from that is I'll make it clear that I'll do this for you. I'll pay this favour forward, as it were. But could be after a vocal from you at some point, or a few at some point. Yeah, mate, no problem. And that has always been the magic, the wanting to do something for exchanging energies has always been, rather than exchanging money. That's been really, and it hasn't always paid off for me. There's been times where I've paid way too much energy. But no one's doing it with a gun to my head. It's more than likely my idea in the first place. So that's just the way I sort of conduct myself. And this sort of culminated in me working with some great people as well. People that you would never really associate with a UK garage producer's journey, I suppose. I've had some randomly amazingly successful in other genre artists. Springing to mind, Henry Wu, Yusuf Kamal, Yusuf Day, Mansur Brown, Misha B.
Leaders of the new school.
Yeah, all of these people I would count as my friends. And all we've done is just shared moments, really. We've not made no money together. They're all doing great, doing what they're doing. I just see it as like I don't know, just like a time mark for me, rather than any sort of indication of success or anything like that. I suppose I look at it differently because it's a 20-year stretch, so I'm not like, there's things that I've made and not been paid for, or things haven't been released for 5 years from making it. So the time marks for me has always been who I've worked with and what we were doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How you sort of, if you had to look at a timeline of your career, it's never been about releases for me. It's been about the actual
process,
the days in the studio. Yeah, that's always.
I wanted to ask you about that because, like, you've been at the forefront of UK dance music for 20 years. But when I say dance, like, I'm more of a niche sounds.
Yes.
but have been extremely impactful and extremely influential on UK dance music, like the sounds that you've worked with. What would you say are would be some of the key factors that have kept you consistent and evolving throughout these years, and still very relevant and still very sought after? I mean, you're working, like you haven't stopped, and you're still working with new kids now, and new people, new artists, and you've been able to weave the sounds and I mean, you've connected all these dots have still stayed connected. UK garage, the two-step, the broken beats, all these kind of sounds are still, relevant today. And yeah. So tell me, is there a secret to this process?
It's just not stopping, just not refusing to feel old, refusing to feel obsolete. Sometimes there'll be probably more days these days than before, like say 10, 15 years ago. There'll be more days these days where I'm sitting thinking about what I'm going to do. So the process is maybe that I'm moving a little bit slower, but when I do something, it has more impact. Trying to spend every waking hour in the studio, creating everything. I think back in the day, if I'm honest with you, I used to cover styles and stuff. I used to hear things. I think, yeah, I could do that. But I just changed that one little aspect of it. And then it's mine.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know if that's the healthiest way to see music or not. But it was like achieving like these different formulas and stuff. And I suppose in my trip, he smoked out marijuana head at the time. That it was all sort of experimenting. Like, the proverbial white lab coat and everything, and I was some kind of professor in my head. little did I know, it just completely wasn't like that, And when I listen back to some of the failed experiments now, like proper abortions, I just would not on playing to anybody. So, yeah, success rate, I reckon, has gone up a little bit as I've gone through the journey. But that's right. I mean, that's as it should be. If you're not improving or you're doing something every day, you're not doing it right, in my opinion. Even subconsciously or not, you're not trying to improve. Practice makes perfect. Repetition would, in the end, make you win if you put in enough. That's why they talk about 10,000 hours being the start of expertise. I reckon I've done 30 to 40,000 hours easily. That's just a rough estimate. Yeah. I've been making tunes on Christmas Day. When I had my studio in my house many years ago, I'd get up to the studio for a few hours and I was shameless. Whoever I was living with, whoever my neighbours, wherever the sound was, I was just, that's my time. That's what I'm doing. I've got ideas. I'm blessed. I believe I will always have ideas. When you haven't got ideas, then you've got nothing. You can have all the equipment in the world. But I believe that I've found a way of just keeping it going.
But was it like a bit of a game in some regard? Like all these years that have passed by have obviously there's going to be things that you've learned along the way to improve the processes and stuff. But there's obviously it doesn't feel like work. Like it's just like for you it's been an enjoyable experience. Like it's something that makes you jump out of bed in the morning, right?
Yeah. We'll never go to bed.
Sorry?
We'll never go to bed. No, it got so bad. I was dysfunctional. It got me completely addicted. You want to talk about addictions? Music's been my biggest addiction. I've had all kinds of fuel to keep me going, and to put me in different mind states when I'm creating in the studio. and different people to join me along the way, or they might be the absolute the focus of what I'm doing, but the love of it has stayed true. It's like it's like playing a computer game. I was around my mate's house the other day, and he's playing a computer game, and I just couldn't relate to him, what he was doing and everything. But I sat and thought about it. I'm like, well, actually, that's what I do. I'm just looking at a screen, fiddling around, and the serotonin's flowing, and I'm having a buzz at the end of the day. And sometimes I go into this meditative state when I'm editing, especially mixing down, where again through repetition you're learning stuff when you're not even realizing you're learning. So your subconscious can take over. Sometimes, you must be like it when you drive a car, maybe on the motorway or something, and you zone out. You very much in your own head.
Yeah.
Just focused on the road. And if anything happened, it's there, but you're gone. You could have traveled 20 miles, not know where that 20 miles is gone. I can do that 3 days on a trot in front of my screen, like 8 hours before a toilet break.
Yeah,
so
totally lost that.
I'm a junkie for it, James. I really am. and really, like, even now, hopeless addict.
Well, you said early in the year you had a tour schedule and a release schedule for the year outlaid. The performances, since you stopped DJing, what does a performance for a Zed Bias show consist of now? Or what it's going to look like?
Well, I did a socially distanced gig in Bristol recently with Sticky and Uncle Doug's Rings. And it was outside in a beer garden. Well, it was made like a beer garden, but it was cool. It had a big tent, wooden benches, people sat down in bubbles, and it was all right. It felt as good as it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
People were giving me gun fingers. I had to rewind a couple tunes. I was getting noise. It was like, it's not like mainlining it, like you play to 10,000 people in a club when everyone's going crazy.
Yeah.
But it reminded me why I do it, what I do and why I do it. It's for the smile, the looks, I didn't realise how much I people watch when I'm DJing. You must be the same, right? Just casting your eye out and catching looks and catching a little vibe and plugging into someone else's experience just for a split second. Yeah. And that's all part of the roller coaster of what you're doing. Why you mixing something there and then could be the inspiration for what you choose next.
So, are you playing live though now? Like, was it a live sort of show, or was it like a
DJ?
That was a DJ set. Okay.
Yeah. The live thing, right? So, I've not really announced as such, but I have. I definitely have ambitions to set up a live experience of some sort in the next 6 to 12 months, depending on.
I can't wait.
What we can do. There's been 20 years of Zed Bias and Maddslinky and Phuturistix. Worked with some fantastic people, and the last album that I've just made, it's probably taken 12 months. The last 12 months. It started off as a project that was all part of, let's call it musical rehabilitation, not like, or maybe just rehabilitation. I felt I'd actually analysed what was making me anxious in the studio in my career more than in my home life. Just there was blockages, and a lot of it was failed experiments, going back to those things, failed experiments. But those failed experiments when the person sat next to you has absolutely smashed it and you've just done a bad day, you've had an off day. But because of this constant conveyor belt of people coming in to the studio, like at times I can have like 7 to 10 different people coming in during the week, different times of the day, evening, or together, or whatever. There seemed like there was no time for me to pause, turn around, look at what I've done, assess it, go back to it, make it better. In my mentality, it was like a one-time deal. If it didn't work, next.
Yeah.
Really negative. Something that I completely regret, and I went to great pains and lengths to go through all of my I've got all my Cubase files from 2003. So I went through the whole shit, basically. Took me a couple of months on and off, outside what I was doing. Well, isolated tracks where I'd had someone great with me doing a great job.
Wow.
And I've just fucked it up. And I've loaded their vocals up and I've rewritten the music completely. 6 or 7 tracks that have ended up on my album. And
how exciting.
That's 6 or 7 saved relationships as well. And or not even saved, but rekindled, whatever you want to.
Yeah, right on. There's a silver lining, man, to this year for you, huh?
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, all I've got to do is just keep doing what I'm doing. I'm at the end of the day, I'm not on a mission anymore.
It's not as intense.
Trying to keep my head above water. It's a different mission at the moment. I've got family.
Yes.
One person I've not mentioned in this whole chat.
I wanted to ask you about fatherhood.
You've got it right, because Louis, like my little boy, right, 11 now. He's the apple of my eye. When lockdown hit, we weren't able, because we live in separate houses. He wasn't able to come over. He wasn't able to stay with me. So what we'd do is we'd have like a 2 or 3 hour walk along canals and the nice parts of local sort of greenery around South Manchester, and discovered a load of places that we had no idea existed, and it was fantastic. And sort of, we've always had a close bond anyway. He was 8 or 9 when I left. 9. So the last couple of years, even though it's been a change for him, I've seen him sort of grow into the person he's going to be. All the negative stuff that was sort of ended through me leaving, like arguments with his mum and whatever, obviously without that pressure on his shoulders, he's kind of bloomed and blossomed, and he's actually become a huge source of like comfort and inspiration sometimes to me as well. And he's a funny little bugger. He's like got me increasing all the time. It's like a little double act. Even though the last 6 months I've been embarrassing him, I just love, the dad jokes. I'm not particularly a dad jokey type person. My missus will completely disagree, but I just love seeing the effect on his face when he's cringing. It's part of the payoff, you know what I mean? Being a dad.
I love a good dad joke.
There's nothing wrong with a dad joke.
Oh, mate. I guess. When this happened, when you had your son as well, like, how was it challenging balance the roles of a father and a music producer and DJ? Like, did you find that challenging as well in the earlier parts of his life?
Yeah, like there was times that I failed miserably. Prioritizing work, my mission to provide. I my age, I came up on a council estate, working class. My dad's a brickie. Lost my mum at 10 years old, so he was the only sort of voice bringing me up, adult voice bringing me up, and it was very old-fashioned. Got to be a man and got to provide, and his mission became my later mission. As so often we repeat our parents, it's like an echo.
Yeah.
But that didn't work. That for me, that became, it took the magic out of what I was doing. It stopped me working smart. I would end up taking on work that I needed, and I got into a situation where I was taking on so much stuff, I wasn't finishing anything, so I was worse off. And it was around the same time when it was loads of gigs, so studio time was, quite rare. But you can't go back and change things. I dare say, whatever that experience was for him, he's going to go into forming, his own character and his own being an adult, the same way as my childhood shaped me.
Well, no doubt your transformations now are having a huge impact on him. He's seeing his dad as transformed and kicking it, like he's seeing a really good version of you, the best version of you now, so yeah, that's awesome.
And that was my main objective.
Yeah.
Like literally above getting a record deal or a publishing deal or 20 gigs in the thing. Yeah. Being the best person, dad, I can be.
Yeah.
Has taken over. And I know it's a cliche, mate, but fuck it. I'm just going to call it.
It's awesome, man. Fantastic. David, look, it was honestly, I can't wait for the new stuff to come out and the new projects. It was thank you so much for sharing all this stuff today. Like, it was really lovely chatting with you. I've been a big fan of your music for a very long time. In fact, I was really excited the boys brought you here to Dubai, because I when I was living in Australia, I was like, I got to get this guy out to Australia. And then when I was here, I got to get him to Dubai. And then the boys did it. So I've been inspired by seeing your health journey. And I was like, mate, Dave would be a great person to chat to. And I'm sure he's got a lot to say.
Well, I haven't stopped for the last hour or so. So yeah, apologies for fucking rambling. But you've got me on that post-gym serotonin high.
Awesome. Well, look, Dave, once again, it was great to have you on the show today. I love chatting with you. Thank you so much for sharing all that info. Tell the listeners where they can find Zed Bias, Maddslinky, and so on and so on. Where can they find you online?
Well, the one-stop shop seems to be Spotify. Spotify, if you enter Zed Bias, many tunes come up. But yeah, I'm dotted about. I'm not hard to find. You can find me out there. There's only one Zed Bias.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Thanks, James.
Take care.